Hello and good afternoon, everybody. On behalf of my colleague Benjamin Peutert and me, it's my pleasure today to present you our latest research project that is named The Paradigm Shift in the Training and Further Education of Tax Officials. So therefore, first we focused on the contemporary requirements for the profession, and then we created a consecutive modularization with a concept for teaching digital competencies. So what I have to mention first is that in our research project, we concentrated on Germany and the German way of training tax officials. And there we find some problems, and this was the motivation for the research project. For example, it has a very strong historical background with a long history of the training and its structures. The German state has own universities and special programs for this, but they have still the typical German old diploma structure and not the new Bologna structure with bachelor and master system. And when you have a look into the universities, you will find a typical class structure with analog learning and no digital learning format. And there's almost no flexibility for work-life plannings of the students. And because of the high complexity of tax law, you have a lot of lessons only with tax law. And at the moment, we also have no transfer between the state and the private sector. So that means once you decide to be a tax official, it's hard to go out of the administration, and it's almost impossible for people to come inside the tax administration. So if we are aware about the problems, we also have to consider the challenges that might arise in the future. One thing could be the staff as a critical risk factor. That means that the tax administration has to compete with all the other employers on the market for the high potentials. And furthermore, they have a reduced budget, not only for hiring people, but also for the ongoing digital transformation. And we have to do this. We have to digitalize all the work processes. There is no way to stay analog the next 20 years. So it's really necessary to spend some money on this. And also for the learning processes, there is a change. So that means we have to come to a lifelong learning and get new qualifications. It is not enough to learn tax law and to learn something and stay like this for 20 years, for example. And people ask also for a flexible training. That means more flexibility with hybrid learn structures inside the university or staying at home. And of course, there is the extensive knowledge of tax law is still needed, yes, but we also need an application methodology where we can get a new knowledge and not only tax law. And there must be found a good mix of these two elements. In this way, we created two research questions. The first question is, what are the changes and contemporary requirements for the job profile of tax officials? And the second research question, how can the education and training of tax officials be modularized consecutively to create a structured learning curve and consider digital competencies? For answering the research question 1, we did a systematic literature review. That means we assessed the literature, first in German language and then in an international context in English language too. And for answering the second research question, we created a model that is orientated on a bachelor-master system in a typical Bologna structure. And it was important for us to find some transfer possibilities and to focus on digital and social skills. So what you can see on this slide is an overview of the requirements for today's tax officials. So first of all, they need to have a strong tax law knowledge, of course, especially in Germany. But then we also need some personal skills like engagement, responsibility or motivation. and methodological skills like problem-solving skills, organizational talent, application methodology, scientific knowledge, and social skills also, communication skills, empathy, team skills. And finally, what we find out is a need for digital skills. That means an awareness of digital transformation and an understanding for digital systems and new media, and especially for e-government services. So how the administration interacts with taxpayers. This is very important for the future. So as an answer to the research question 2, we created this model here. What you can see are 4 different possible degrees you can reach in the tax administration. It starts with the tax associate, then goes to the senior tax associate, comes to the bachelor, and finally you can receive a master degree. In between, you see some qualification levels. One is called the job specialization, and the other one is the special qualification. And the total model is supplemented by a continuously leadership development. I will explain everything in detail on the next slides. So in our module, people without a graduation from high school, they start with the tax associate, and the next step for them will be the senior tax associate. If you have a graduation from high school, then you can start directly with the bachelor degree. In all of these qualification levels, we have tax law as a theoretical knowledge, tax law as a practical knowledge, then we have taxation digital and social skills and practical training. And in the senior tax associate in the bachelor, we have also a repetition and a preparation for people that come from another position or from outside the administration, that they have a possibility for an entry. So they get all the knowledge that is missing for the next step. Most of the people in the tax administration, they will have a bachelor degree, as this is the standard qualification level. But if they want to work on a certain job position, they might do a job specialization. So they get knowledge for a certain job position. And finally, if they want to have a higher position or they want to be part of the management of a tax office, they can apply for a special qualification and finally receive their master's degree. And what is different here is the content. So then they will have more administrative and labor law or leadership competencies, but tax law is not necessary in this deepness anymore as it has been on the levels before. And if you are part of the management, you will receive a continuous leadership development. So this gives you more leadership competencies and you will learn something about the administration's development. So let me please finally conclude my presentation and give you an outlook. The research question 1 was answered and I showed you the changes in contemporary requirements for the profession of tax officials. We can confirm that there is a need in changing the training of tax officials. And the research question 2 was answered by our module that is more orientated in the way of lifelong learning with a structured learning curve, and it allows lateral entry possibilities from outside the administration. And now we can say that it is also more flexible for students regarding their work-life concepts. But what is missing in our module is a full transfer structure. That means if someone wants to go outside the administration and work for a while and then come back, and these kind of things are not considered in the module at the moment. And I am proud to announce that our paper has been published in a German language in Beck Digitex at the end of last year and the beginning of this year. And now we are creating an international version and we try to find a journal until summer 22 to publish it in English language. Thank you very much for your attention and let's discuss some issues. Thank you.